Hello and everyone, welcome to the second episode of Talkin' Athletics with MTJ. We got Tom, we got Joe, 2/3 of the magnificent trio, and I'm your host, Mike Papa. We're going to be talking NBA playoffs mostly today, but before we get started, it is Friday, May 19th, and just today it was announced that running back, iconic Browns running back, guy the team was named after, Jim Brown, passed away. Kind of hits home for a lot of us and a lot of you probably watching. Being from the Syracuse area, he is a Syracuse alumni, one of the best running backs in college football history, one of the best running backs after a 10-year career in the NFL, one of the only 6 players to win the MVP 3 times. So it hits a little home. We kind of wanted to go over that, show our condolences before we move on to our main topics of the day, and that is going to be NBA. Like I said, we're going to be talking conference finals, but before we want to get into that, we talked before the podcast, and we think talking about the dismantlement of the Phoenix Suns and how that's kind of important, and we really want to go over it because they made a lot of moves come mid-season, right before the trade deadline. They got KD, and after their playoff performance, what are we thinking about KD? Do we think...
You want to restart?
What's up?
Paul Brown's
the coach. I knew
that
they were already.
Interrupt when I do something like that.
Well,
but you were gonna let it go. You were gonna let it go.
I wasn't sure. I had to look it up.
You were gonna let it go.
I thought that they were already the Browns I thought they were the Browns when Jim Brown played for them.
Paul Brown was their first owner.
Yeah, Paul Brown was their first coach.
And
they're named after that.
If I say something wrong, immediately interject.
I wasn't sure about it.
Dude, let me be wrong.
Did you see me thinking the wheel was spinning?
I would much rather you interrupt than have people watch and be like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Well, I mean...
And I told you that last week. I told you that last week.
We don't know what we're talking about, you know.
Well, I mean, we know a little bit. I don't think I know nothing.
Mention that I think Jim Brown's the only person to be in 2 major sports Hall of Fames because he's in the lacrosse Hall of Fame.
Yeah, no, and that's one of the biggest things about Jim Brown that I think is crazy. A lot of people don't know that he was a 4-sport athlete.
Yeah.
At Syracuse, you know.
Yeah.
Especially at that time, you know, breaking a lot of barriers in his place,
yeah,
like
true.
doing
it
all over the place it was absolutely wild, and the legacy that he leaves behind is one that I don't think you'll ever see be matched.
Can you imagine not even playing? I don't even know if they have professional, quote unquote, but could you imagine not even playing professional lacrosse and going into the lacrosse Hall of Fame? Like, that's how good you were in college.
I'm gonna double check.
They do have professional lacrosse.
I think they do. I know at one point.
I know they do. They have both indoor and outdoor professional lacrosse. Yeah.
Indoor's got to be way smaller.
Indoor, honestly, the goalie, yeah, it is. It's much more. I think it's played on like a hockey rink almost.
They probably have different rules too.
Oh, very different. Like they can fist fight. I've seen
no
that.
shot.
Oh,
really?
100%. Helmets come off, fist fights happen, and it's much weirder to see when people are just walking around and it's not on skates. Like it just looks like.
Right.
Assault.
That's a good point.
It looks like assault. Like the skates go,
yeah.
the skates go a long way with it. Trust me. But the goalies in the indoor league, they also wear like hockey pads.
I did know that.
So that I did know.
They have like
there's a team out Buffalo.
on.
I'm pretty sure the team out Buffalo's doing pretty well this year.
I don't know if this is a professional, but the National Lacrosse Hall of Fame. Is that the professional?
Well, I mean that's the Hall of Fame. That's for the sport.
Okay, then yeah. So like
it's like there's a basketball Hall of Fame.
Because like the basketball.
They have ABA stuff. They have ABA stuff.
Because he's in the College Football Hall of Fame, National Lacrosse Hall of Fame, and the Professional Football Hall of Fame.
Paul Brown is who the Browns. Alrighty, so yeah, little love to Jim Brown. He did a lot, not only for sports, but for black rights in America. He was a pioneer. So going over to the NBA playoffs, like I said, conference finals, 4 teams left. And at the beginning of this playoffs, I went in hard on the Denver Nuggets. I said they didn't deserve the number 1 seed, and I was wrong because we're seeing Nikola Jokic play at one of the highest levels we've seen in a playoff, the whole postseason. Last night, the Nuggets took a late lead after trailing most of the game 2 to the Lakers to win 108-103, taking a 2-0 lead. Jamal Murray had a day last night, gentlemen, 37 points. And we talked about before the podcast started that I said Jokic might have had his worst playoff game yesterday, and he still had a triple-double. Like, they don't really... they figured out an answer for him offensively, it seems like, with Rui. Rui, when he came in late game 1, he did a really good job at him. Game 2, Jokic had a pretty relatively poor shooting day with Rui being his number 1 defender.
They inserted him in the starting lineup.
They did. But
coaching adjustment.
That's the thing that Jokic, that's the issue guarding Jokic you've had is you can shut him down scoring, but you're not going to shut down the boards. He's proven that this postseason. And then if you double team him, well, guess what? He knows where the wide open guy is every single time.
And Murray took advantage of it.
And Murray, he took absolute advantage of it. And
just a couple games ago, we were harping on him, saying, "My goodness, what happened?"
I was just
had
about to say that.
Huge couple first 2 games, and all of a sudden he kind of went cold. But again, it's the NBA. He's still young, so.
And Jokic is loving it. And honestly, with it going up against a team like the Lakers, Joe kind of pointed it out when he talked about Embiid coming back. He was really excited for Embiid to come back game 2 because he thought that would psychologically help the Celtics. They usually play well against him. He went on a whole thing where even Embiid said that they're in his head, and they proved that. So with Jamal Murray, all you need is, against a great team like the Lakers, all you need is one game to open up that mindset, to go into that, open up that third eye and just go to town for the rest of the series. And I mean,
Good to just see the ball go through the hoop.
I picked the Lakers winning at the beginning of this with the matchup, but I love watching basketball, and if Jamal Murray can drop games like that every game, I'm totally here for it. I'm not even mad.
I believe, too.
What's that?
Didn't he score like the last 8 points?
Yeah, it was 12. Last 12 points.
12 points.
That's right. I'm expecting some big things out of Otto Porter as well.
He's been playing pretty consistently.
He's been playing consistently, and
Michael Porter.
You're right. You're right. But he's been playing solidly. And,
yes.
Yeah, I did.
Still got Syracuse on the brain.
Yeah. But
There's
no,
also
I think that he's going to have a big series to finish off the Lakers here. I think the Lakers probably get at least one of the next 2 at home. I don't think it'll be a sweep.
So you think it's going to be, again, like we discussed in the past, a gentleman's sweep of like, okay, you got your...
I don't know.
You said that at the beginning.
I can see the Lakers taking the next 2 and tying it up, but and then I could see the Nuggets taking the next 2 after that.
So you think they close it in LA? Because that's what
I'm going to give the Lakers a game. I'll give them 1 game, and I'll say that it's a gentleman's sweep, and they're out of there. But I could see the Lakers. If the Lakers are getting 2, I think it's going to be the next 2.
Well, yeah, because
in that way they'd have to close.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I'm saying that they got to defend their floor now.
I think if they can win both at home, this game's going to 7, and I think the Lakers are still going to win. But This is a huge game. Well, both games have been close.
Yep.
In this game, AD and LeBron offensively played like dog water, and they only lost by 6. And it was in the last 7 minutes of the game after lead. They played that bad the whole game, and they still had a lead for most of it. I think they've proven with these last 2 games, even though they're losses, they've proven they can beat them. The Lakers are good enough to beat them. Will they beat them game 3 is the big question. If they lose game 3, I think it's a sweep, honestly. I think losing 2 close heartbreakers after the second one having the lead for most of it and then losing immediately at home, I think you're checked. Well, and I think it's hard to come back.
One big thing I think that needs to be talked about is LeBron came down and was going for the Sports Illustrated cover on a magazine and hucked the ball into the 4th row.
Yeah. I think
and it came down, honestly, late. It came down to a couple baskets where that dunk, it might go a little ways momentum wise for them. Like it had a lot of implications there where it just seemed like all game the Lakers were 1 or 2 bounces away from going on another big run and making this a 15-point game, and having another playoff game where we get a quick last 10 minutes, but instead we got a thriller late and you look at all the little things like that really come back. And I thought LeBron played great the last 3 minutes. Like it was a whole.
I don't.
I thought it was a whole different
because
LeBron.
of one thing.
I thought he looked a lot younger the last 3 minutes.
Wow, this is crazy. We're literally going down 2 completely opposite paths. I'm loving where this is going.
Really?
Yes, because I'm happy you brought up that botched dunk because I was gonna say after that I think we might finally be seeing Father Time no matter how little it may be creeping up on LeBron.
Oh,
because
yeah.
with a minute and a half left, and the reason I think he played older the last 3 minutes, with a minute and a half left, he hopped a pass and he stole it, and he had a guy who was about a half a foot shorter than him. In my mind, when I saw it, I said, he is going to yam on this dude, because that's what LeBron has always done. But instead, he settled for a reverse layup where he missed it. This is a 3-part why Father Time with this one play. So 1, he didn't do what LeBron James has always done his entire career, and then is yam on anybody who's smaller than him. 2, he should have still made the layup.
Yes, agreed.
It was a makeable
Agreed.
layup. No,
Agreed with
even
those points.
and so he missed. So those 2, and then his 3-point shooting. He's never been a huge 3-point shooter, and going 0 for 6 isn't a huge deal. But when you're 1 of 19, and that 0 for 6 made you 1 of 19 since the first round of the playoffs, that is a huge, massive deal.
Especially in
agreed.
today's NBA.
In today's NBA, and you've had in one game that you lost by 6, you had 2 botched plays from directly under the hoop. If you can't shoot threes and you're botching stuff down low, we might be seeing Father Time now. I
That's
hope
right.
we're not, but I think we might be.
I was seeing the same things that you were, where I agree with you there. I didn't think that, like, that fast break by LeBron, I felt like that late one where he had a steal, I felt like that was almost the most, like, go make something happen that LeBron did all game. He didn't get any points for it, but, like, that was the first LeBron-ish thing that I really saw from him.
But it wasn't.
all game.
We
Like,
didn't
he
see
had
the
botched
LeBron
one.
though. We saw
Exactly.
the LeBron-ish.
Agreed. Well, that's where, honestly, even when LeBron botched it, I don't know if he jumped high enough to really cram.
That's
like
what I'm
LeBron.
saying. Like, he didn't
get
have that
up.
athleticism.
No,
in him.
Like I said, he's getting older.
No, it
Father
is.
Time.
And what he's been in the NBA since we were in middle school.
We were
Is that-
7. We were all
yeah.
7.
Yeah, like think about like that. It's crazy.
20
I wake
years.
up sore.
20 years, yeah.
It's a 50-50 coin flip on whether I will wake up sore, and I didn't even do anything. The
And
day
he's
before,
39.
That's what I'm saying. And he plays in the NBA day in, day out. Like, it's got to be unreal on his body, but, like, I do agree with you that I think that LeBron James of old that people remember isn't around anymore. I think he is a shell of himself. Is that shell really, really good at
Yeah.
basketball?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Here's an
Yeah.
analogy I came to. I was thinking throughout the day. I kind of thought about it a couple more times, and I think the age is showing, because now when I'm watching a Lakers game, I'm not thinking, as I think everybody has the last 20 years, when is LeBron going to take this game over? I'm now thinking, is LeBron going to take this game over? Because I know LeBron can take this game over, but we haven't seen him take a game completely over for a whole 48 minutes.
That's
in
fair.
In a while,
I just
since
don't think he can.
he was with the Cavs, and that's what I'm saying. I don't think he can either.
Well,
I mean, he's still a top 5 player in my opinion. Do not get it twisted about that. But he is not the LeBron James.
There
that
was a
we
couple
grew to
possessions
know
that
of.
that I watched yesterday that it was early on in the game when the Lakers had the lead, but LeBron didn't touch the ball
No, he has.
Yeah.
He didn't
on the
score in
offensive
first.
floor. Like, and that's, think about how weird that is. Like,
Yeah.
they literally put LeBron off to the other side of all the ball motion, and no one was guarding him. Like, it was very casual off-ball defense. Like, there was a guy that was near, in between
Yeah.
LeBron and the
in
paint.
the zone area.
Yeah, it
with
was
him.
more of a zone defense, but it wasn't.
He was
a zone,
playing man,
like-
but he was playing it like a zone.
Exactly. Yeah, no, and on LeBron, like that's where
That's weird.
I was really confused watching it. And then the Lakers hit a 3, so I was like, I mean, I guess it's
It worked,
working,
yeah.
but it was just strange to see. Whereas in years past, in a playoff game, in a series where you're down
he
0-1.
touches the ball every single time on
Yeah.
every possession.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I was hearing a story of.
But he has been saying, before you get into that, he has been saying the last 3 or 4 years that he doesn't want to run point. He wants to be off ball, but go on. So it makes sense.
Still should at least
It's gonna
touch
bother
it.
He needs to, whether
Do
he
you think
wants
he's
to
in?
or not.
Let's think of some guys that were on the Cavs. Who's the power forward that was on
Kevin
the,
Love.
Kevin Love,
No, other than
Tristan Thompson,
maybe a 3. Shumpert,
Are you
maybe?
Iman Shumpert?
Maybe it could have been.
He was
it
it too, but
it was
he was on
somebody.
the team.
It was somebody that was on that team that was talking about in a playoff series. They ran one play for the entire third quarter, I think he said.
And they just couldn't stop him.
And it was a LeBron pretty much option play, where it's like, okay, if you adjust to this and take away this option from me, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
And every time they would grab a rebound, and they were talking about how, like, excited they were, like, and how the momentum was going their way, and how they all wanted to push it. And LeBron said, no, stop, we're walking it up. LeBron got the ball, walked it up.
Yeah.
Like, that's not what we're seeing. That is the complete opposite of what we're seeing here in this series.
To add to that too, I mean, when they came back in that 3-1 series, a lot of people talk about how it was Draymond's fault, but I think the biggest reason, well, it was a huge part, but I think the biggest reason was that was the first time anybody realized how terrible of an on-ball defender Stephen Curry is. And that was
Right.
LeBron effing James. He goes, I can destroy this guy. So for the next 4 games or 3 games, they just switched him on to Steph over and over and over and over again, and he just dominated him.
Yeah, and ran multiple screens to make sure they got the switch.
Yeah, exactly.
Not even giving a chance for the defender to, fight over that screen. They're like, nope, we're gonna do multiple screens.
Exactly. They would say like 2 to 3, and there are players that LeBron could do that to Jamal Murray in this series.
Yeah.
But he's not.
100%. Yeah.
And Jamal Murray was the one guarding him, if I remember correctly, on that reverse layup, and he did not contest it very well. And LeBron missed it. So if he should be able, right now, when you're 0-2, after that game, he should have walked into that locker room and been like, listen, you're going to set me a screen, you're going to set me a screen, and if I need you to, you're going to set me a screen.
Yep.
But I need Jamal Murray on me, and I'm going to drive it into this guy's throat for the next 48 minutes. I'm not even coming off the floor. Now, he's 39, and at this point, I don't know if he can do that anymore.
I don't think he can
But
anymore.
if he wants to win this series and win this finals and win this season and go off on get another ring to help his legacy, then he needs to realize that he is in a very similar situation that he's been in his entire career outside of Miami. He has help, but that help is a lot of the time underperforming. AD rebounded not too bad last game. The game before that, he had 40, so he played well, but AD has this season, postseason, hasn't done that every time. He'll get you his 20, but a lot of the times he'll get you his 20 not shooting very efficiently, kind of like last night. So he's kind of in the same boat he's always been in all of his final runs is he needs to will a team to win, and I think we're finally seeing that he can.
Yeah.
And we don't have to keep beating it up.
I hate saying that on this team. Like, he's got good talent on this
He does
team.
have good talent.
Like, he's got a lot of talent on this. Like, he's got more talent than we've seen on other teams that he has willed to the finals.
I will give you that.
Is what I would say. Where I don't think this team necessarily needs LeBron to will you to the finals. Like,
I think they kind of do need LeBron to will them. I mean, AD is phenomenal defensively, but it seems like offensively sometimes he just gets a little bullied. Like, let's be honest, you have Jokic guarding you. What is the one thing in basketball Jokic can't do very well? Defense. And you are supposed to be one of the best finishing centers in the league right now, and you can't get a solid performance. Like, you need that game 1 in game 3. You need that game 1 in game 4. You need that game 1 in game 5 if you want to close this out, and I think he needs to put up 25 or more, double-double efficiently every single game if they want to win this series. And LeBron has to do a little bit more than that. Because LeBron is the mismatch right now with the way these teams line up.
Should be the mismatch.
He should be the mismatch with the way these teams line up. Best player on the Nuggets is clearly their center. The second best player, who is debatably the second, maybe third, if you really want to send an argument, best center in the game. Those guys are going to go neck and neck, and then you need both of them to produce. Jamal Murray doesn't really have as much of a matchup, but I feel like the Lakers are good enough defensively where they should be able to hold him down. And that really comes to LeBron. And right now, the only difference maker we've seen out of consistent difference maker so far in these first 2 games is Rui Hachimura.
Yep.
He's been playing great. He played great defense both game 1 and game 2, and last night he came out firing offensively.
Played great defense, and Jokic still got a triple-double.
Yeah, still got a triple-double.
Again, now kind of gets Jokic's legacy a little bit higher.
Like, last night, honestly, LeBron was debatably the third option. And he can't be. You cannot have
No.
LeBron be your third option. It's just wild.
It's
But-
all right if he's number 2, and if that number 2 is to AD.
Yeah.
He
Kinda
can be
like-
number 2 to anyone else.
Kind of like the finals with him and Kyrie. Kyrie at times,
Oh, yeah.
looked like the number 1 for that Cavs team.
Well, and hit the biggest shot in Cavs history.
Yes, he did.
So,
And who was that on? Stephen Curry. But you could also say that LeBron has the biggest block in Cavs history on Iggy. That
true.
what was it? A minute later, not even. Oh my God, that was the most depressing 2 minutes of my life. That was worse than when Ben threw the interception against the Packers in the Super Bowl in the last drive of the game. That was worse. Cause like that game, I was like, wow, we're really good, but I don't know, this is a good team. The Warriors should have won that series. Oh, man.
Coulda.
All right, but moving on to the other side of the country. Last week, the Celtics ended the process and beat the Sixers 112-88, but now find themselves down 0-1 to the 8th-seeded Jimmy Butler-led Miami Heat. Last episode, Joe got up close and personal with Celtics head coach Joe Mazzulla. Joe, what did you like about the closeout game against Philly, and what went wrong game 1 against Miami?
well, of course, I loved what happened in the closeout games, actually. I mean, we got to see the 6th and the 7th since our last recording, and I said right on that recording that the adjustments that Joe Mazzulla made was great because he inserted Robert Williams into the starting lineup, which the starting lineup he rolled with was the starting lineup that took us to the finals last year. So
It is very defensive.
It's very defensive
Very
posture.
defensive. Very defensive.
You're in a very defensive posture.
Very
You know, let's do it.
defensive.
Let's match him.
Yeah.
We're
Very
mad.
defensive. Like,
Joe
we upset?
Mazzulla.
We upset?
You got mean mugger too.
Is it? You're talking about how happy you are.
You
This
gotta
man.
hit the butchie mean mug.
So I was very happy with how Joe Mazzulla motivated his team in
I
6
love
and
his
7.
pictures, dude.
Obviously, Tatum had a coming out party in Game 7. He set an NBA record for most points in a Game 7 with 51. It was awesome, beating
It's a
Steph
sick
Curry's
record. It is.
record by
It's a-
one
it's-
whole
it's a sick
point.
record.
So that was great. But going to Game 1, it seemed like deja vu.
Oh, is that the reason for your defensive posture?
At Game 1, it's just deja vu, where again,
He's
we
in the zone.
end
Let him go.
the game
I gotta let it ride.
with 4 timeouts. Like, Joe Mazzulla, I just talked to you about calling
He did.
timeouts.
He talks to you, Joe.
You did.
Awesome Joe on Joe
you
insight.
cannot be leaving the freaking floor with 4 timeouts in your back pocket. You can't bring them to the next game. You wouldn't use them anyway,
It's in the
so
rules. Can't do that.
it just doesn't make sense. Now, when he finally did take a timeout, because I believe we let them score like 40 in the third quarter.
Yeah.
It was
a big third
ridiculous. Like, again, it's exactly what I talk about.
And
where-
it was like only 5 minutes. They were up 20. It's weird.
It's exactly what I was talking about, where instead of
effect.
waiting for you to be down 15, 20, like making these long runs to finally take the timeout, if they all suddenly score 3 or 6, and you're starting to miss on offense, I know, again, if they only score 3 points, but if you're missing on offense and they're now going on a run, you're in a drought. Yes, I know it's only 3 whole points, but again, call a timeout, calm down the troops, but instead, he finally calls a timeout, and it's like, okay, it's a 12-15 run, and it just, you already seem to be out of the game. And not only that, I was happy that Joe Mazzulla actually did slam the clipboard during the timeout, and then the interview, I think it was Rachel Nichols, was saying, oh yeah, did the report that he slammed it, but it just seemed too little too late. Like, again, if it's a 3-6, yeah, motivate the people to slam the clipboard, but all suddenly when you're down 15 and you're getting upset with your team, no, you should be slamming the clipboard against yourself. You just got to call timeouts. But again, I'm just hoping that it's deja vu where we lost Game 1 and we come out fiery tonight in Game 2, and then we win Game 3, and hopefully then, even if it's a repeat against the 76ers, then that means we win Game 7.
Do you know the issue, Joe? Is that
Turnovers? Because, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown
I want to
decided
get into
last.
that. I want to get into that.
I was thinking the issue really is that there is no Embiid for you to wish back into this lineup here.
Oh, no.
Tyler Hero, please.
You
Yeah,
got
Tyler Hero, come
you
back.
got
Victor
Jimmy-
Oladipo, come back.
You got Jimmy Butler, and you have to find an answer for him that no one's been able to find thus far. You know, the Knicks weren't able to figure
Did
out
I
a way to
said the
stop
Celtics
it.
were gonna win, right?
Yes, you did.
I just had an epiphany, and I am hopping ship, and I couldn't do it fast enough.
You what?
Oh.
You joined, no, you might have said the Heat because I said I didn't like it that you were taking my side.
Did you? I don't remember. I'd have to look.
I do just want to shout
But
out.
I am 100% on the Heat now. What were you saying though?
I just want to shout out
That's
Robert
terrible news
Williams
for
and
my
Marcus
boys.
Smart. Those two came to play in Game 1. Everyone else did not come to play. So
Tatum, man, he
Mark-
didn't do bad.
he,
He had 4
he
turnovers.
needed to start
Dude,
the
he had
he
30.
shot the ball
But-
a lot.
But we have talked about this so many times. I know we had to have talked about it last episode because I think me and you have talked about it every single time we've seen each other since we first talked about it. The Achilles heel for the Celtics has been turnovers. And who are they playing? The team with the highest hustle stats in
Absolutely.
the entire playoffs. This is a team that will make you mess up, and they will capitalize off of it. And Jaylen Brown with 6 turnovers. He can't dribble. It's wild. It's the craziest thing. The man, he demands to slash. He demands to sit at the 3 and just slash or shoot a 3, but he loses the ball or
On every play.
or fumbles the ball almost every single time he drives in. It's wild. Why can't they just send the man on a couple backdoors? Put him in the corner, have a backdoor.
Well, because if they bounce pass it to him, he might fumble it.
No, send him an oop if you have to. Jason Tatum is a half a foot taller than everybody else.
He just refuses to
that's
shoot
on
sometimes.
the 3. Put him at the top. Put Jalen in the corner. If you have to set him a pick to get him to the wing, then do it. And then he can still cut or send him on a backdoor. Get him the ball where he has to step the least amount of times. They need to play him off ball, and they just don't. He's a great 3-point shooter when he's a spot-up shooter.
I do
He's a
wanna
great
say,
guy
though,
under the rim.
Eric Spoelstra was smart, though, because he started to do a zone there, and the Celtics seemed to struggle against that zone, which, again, inexperienced coaching where Joe Mazzulla should have called a timeout and said, hey, guys, they're in a zone. Here's a couple plays, remember, that we do in practice when going against a zone. I mean, again, they're NBA athletes. They know how to break a zone, but, again, just gentle reminders.
I'm falling in love with this Heat team every single time I watch them. I fall more in love with them. They were up 20 points in the third quarter, and it showed Eric Spoelstra sitting. And you want to talk about defensive stances? This man looked like he was getting ready to fight somebody on the other side of the court. He was just like this, just watching, and they were up 20.
Well, and it's to be
and he is that. Oh, he looked so
You got
mad.
2 All-Pros on
I was
the
like, this
team
is
and
that
2
dude.
offensive All-Pros. You know
Yeah,
what
so
I
a
mean? Like,
20-point lead is not safe, which is
in
why
the
he's
third.
always
It's not completely safe against them, but
But I'm saying
I
that's
do-
how locked he is,
Yeah,
man.
because he's a great head coach.
All
Yeah,
of them,
no, I
all of
agree.
them, dogs, dude.
well, and
Everybody
honestly, and I
does.
think
Kyle Lowry played out of his mind, too.
Yeah.
I don't know too much about Spoelstra other than he started with the big 3. Like that was like his first coaching, right?
No, he was there. I think
Was he there a few
a
years before?
season or 2 before, but he started
As a
as
video
the
coordinator.
he was the AV coordinator for Miami when he started
So
working there.
Nate the Great, huh?
And yes,
Well, Nate the
yes,
Great, Ted
but he
Lasso,
stayed.
Ted Lasso.
Hold on.
No, but it's I think just based on what you hear about Spoelstra and the tenacity, the drive and the focus. I mean, think about it. You were the AV guy and you're the head coach now. You've got drive. You got focus.
Yeah.
You've got that dog in you. And Jimmy,
He's got
if
that
we
dog.
know anything about all of the stories that have floated about from all of Jimmy's past teams,
Oh,
the
yeah.
guy wants to win.
Yeah.
And if he sees you, dogging it or not
trying.
giving up, and I mean
He'll let you know.
that's that stereotypical Chicago mentality of dude. I'm
Well,
gonna
look
get
at his
mine.
life, man. The guy was given up when he was 13 by his mom.
So I
floated
taken in by
around.
his
yeah, no,
girlfriend.
I really think that
Didn't get
he's-
any offers for D1. Went JUCO.
He found a team and a spot in Miami that didn't have.
It has the
a
perfect
guy-
culture. It's the
they
Heat
didn't
culture. Jimmy
have a
Butler
guy.
is the Heat culture.
Yeah, no, and
Fits in perfectly.
He is the person to come in there and be the leader of that team, and it's worked out really.
So my question
about
is,
it,
who do you think the Celtics leader is?
I don't think you have
Tatum.
one. No, I don't think you have one.
That's the thing, though.
it has
feel
to be
like
the guy
Tatum-
that just dropped the most
You
points
say
in
that,
NBA
but
history
that-
in Game 7.
But he's not that. He's
Yeah.
not that guy mentality though.
No, because with that mentality,
That's the
it's
problem.
Marcus Smart. That's why people
I
always
agree.
say you can't trade Marcus Smart because he's the heart and soul.
I
of the
agree.
Celtics.
That's a good point. I think.
Which, like
I
you
think you're
said,
onto something.
he's not really a true point guard. Although, like I said, last game he played really well. When I was watching Marcus Smart, I was like, "Oh, Mikey thinks we need a point guard. We got Marcus Smart."
But I mean,
That's the Marcus Smart experience right there. The
But,
game
like-
before, they were like, "Yeah, we need a real point guard."
Yeah, that's true because he is very wishy-washy. But he had all of his assists. I'm pretty sure were in the first half.
Yeah,
I think.
he had a double in the first
Yeah.
half, which I was just
Okay, then yeah, it was.
the way the Heat were able to spread the ball around though, and everybody got looks. Everybody
Sure,
got.
sure,
I mean,
sure.
you had Kyle Lowry, 15 points. He had 3 assists. You had, I don't even know who Steve Martin is.
You know
off the
who
top
it
of my head.
was?
15 points, 3
Duncan
assists.
Robinson playing a solid 7 minutes,
0
scoring
points.
0 points,
I
rebounds,
think he
assists,
took
steals,
one shot,
blocks,
yeah.
turnovers, and
That's why I don't have shots
fouls.
on mine. I think he took 1 shot.
He was 0 for 2.
0 for 2.
Over 2
Two
from
threes.
3. And I saw both
Yanked
of them. They were not pretty.
I
One of
was-
them was like extreme.
No, but
close.
you got 15 points. 15 points from Struth, 15 points from Vincent, 20 from Bam, like 35.
Yeah.
K Love in his 16 minutes giving you 8 points. Like
And they
they
shot
had
efficient.
production from everywhere. Like everybody's on the boards.
Yeah, they shot
like
efficient.
like literally.
Cody
Lowry
Zeller-
had 3. Lowry had 3 rebounds.
Yep.
Like their guards all have 3 rebounds apiece. Like everybody's doing it all for that team. It's not a hey, we need a Jokic to go hard on the boards for us. It's a hey, we need to go hard on the boards. Everybody get in there and help Bam out.
And they were running a lot of weird lineups against you guys. I don't know if you
yes.
guys said there was parts.
they were strange.
There was parts
the minutes
where
were crazy.
Yo,
Martin was at the 5, and he's a 6'6" small forward.
Yeah,
and
no,
he was at the
it-
5 at
Yeah,
some
and
points.
then,
in that
like
game.
you said, they were when Jimmy Butler was off the floor. They were letting Kyle Lowry run the show.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Great. Which was
Yeah.
they kept talking about that. It's like, hey, what better thing can you have? A championship player playing championship basketball and having the star on the bench, and you're
Yeah.
not losing anything.
leading
It
your
was just
second
like,
team, because honestly, it's gonna only help your production if you're
Yeah.
coming off the bench. It's gonna make you more efficient. You might get less looks for certain things, but your production and your consistently is gonna naturally be a little higher. The second team on the other
Yep.
side is on the court, not playing against their first squad. The ball is more running through him
Yeah, 'cause
opposed to
that was-
running through him and Butler.
That's why some people didn't like that Tyler Hero was in the starting lineup like for this whole season
Yeah.
because they thought his production went down because it was better served as coming off.
Well, I
the
mean, who
bench.
would you start at the 2 over him? You're not
Well,
starting Duncan
Well,
Robinson.
that was the thing. That's why a lot of people thought that Duncan Robinson like really struggled because it's a different role where he was.
No, if you were a
struggled
three-point
because-
specialist, coming off
Yeah.
the bench always helps you.
He
I'm
got caught.
sorry.
He got caught in between the different eras there, and he made his money. But
I think he just got really lucky that he got
Yeah.
hot during the
I think
bubble
this
era.
series. You want to know where this series comes down to for me? Just looking at the stat sheet back again. How does Al Horford only have 7? 7 points.
That's not
7 to
yeah.
15 is what you'd expect.
I think
Maybe
that,
even 7
I
to
think
12
that you
really.
guys, if you guys are gonna have the two, if you want
He
the
doesn't
two
even
bigs
make
to
more
play,
threes though.
well, if you guys want the 2 bigs to play, you gotta do something with like anything. And honestly, that's all they really. They're never gonna put Bam and Zeller out at the same time. Like that's
No.
honestly what.
Yeah,
you
but
force
Al
them to
Horford
do.
at heart is
Again,
more of a
is a
4.
power forward.
Well,
He's a stretch.
He's
he
stretch forward.
he
He's
really.
Cody Zeller ain't stretching.
Either way,
anything.
7 points from him is 7.6 rebounds.
Well, he's their 4th option, sometimes 5th,
Yeah.
especially
I'm
with
not-
Robert.
I'm not-
Look,
especially
I
with
think
Robert
I think
Williams
it,
there.
I mean, looking at the team that spreads it a little bit more, it looked to work a little bit better than, just having the 2 guys shoot.
It'll be
No,
interesting to
honestly,
see.
you say
I
that.
think that's a mismatch.
You
Like,
say that, but
the
Jimmy Butler
mismatch
had the
there.
most shots on the floor. He had 24.
Oh, agreed. Yeah, he had the most shots for sure. But the other guys are getting their looks and their points as well. Like it was spread well when Jimmy's spreading it. He's still getting good assists. Like whereas I really think
What does
you got Horford playing against Love for limited minutes, right? If he's gonna play the 4 and you're gonna bring in
Yeah.
another 5 to
times.
play against Bam.
Yeah.
So
Robert Williams.
how you only taking advantage of that for a couple points during those minutes, and then who is the Heat's
well, and
4
with
after
how
that?
with how
Like,
much both of these teams switch around,
Kevin
too,
Love's
Yeah.
your-
we
if
don't
Kevin
know how
Love's
much
starting
Kevin
4.
Love was truly on
Guard
him.
him.
True, but then who's the other 4 that the Heat have then?
They got the other 4. That's what I'm saying. They were playing a lot of Martin. They were playing
Yes.
Martin at 4 and 5 a lot,
Well, that's what I'm
which
saying.
he is a very
And so
good
that-
defensive player.
But I think
But
again, Joe
Al
Mazzulla should have
Horford
made.
can't handle that. Like his size
adjustments.
can't handle that.
Well, Al Horford's what 37. I mean,
Yeah, 36.
Listen,
37.
I've been on
I
the
think
Al
he-
Horford old train.
No,
I
he
like him. I
postseason,
love Al Horford.
And
You're right,
I've
I
been
think he
proven
just had
wrong.
birthday
We're not turning it
issues,
on
so-
again now. We're not turning the Al Horford is old because I tried to get that train going and you both were like, No, actually, he's not that old. He got good years left in
He
him.
does,
Like,
but the way the game is
what
right
else?
now.
7 points ain't playing like he's got good years left in
Again,
him.
he's the fifth
7 points
option.
is not bad though. And
As
like
the
I said,
fifth option.
he's
For the
he's efficient
For the
fifth option.
for the mismatch on the court though.
There really wasn't a huge
Again,
mismatch.
you're
though.
thinking of Al Horford as someone you're plopping in the post, and like you said, going against 6-footers. He stands by the 3-point. It doesn't matter who guards him now. If he makes shots,
Yeah.
then like you said, also
he
he's
was 1
going to
for
have
5
15
from
to
3.
20.
He
yeah.
makes 2 more of those, and he's got 15 points. You know what I mean? He shot
is
5
exactly-
threes.
yeah.
He just didn't shoot very efficiently.
I just feel like that's a big.
If
I
you're
feel
not
like-
worried about that matchup, then
Yeah.
Well, I just feel like the four like
Tom,
looking at the
stand your
lineup.
ground. You have not been wrong yet. So
Line,
stand
that's
your
what I am.
ground.
Lineup to lineup. I feel like that's the big mismatch there. Is you have Kevin Love, your starter. You're asking 16 minutes of
He's
out
not
of the
their
whole
starter.
game.
yeah, Kevin Love,
Kevin Love
is
isn't
not
their
the
starter.
Oh, really? Look at the starters.
That's
there.
who finishes the game. If I remember correctly.
What does the label say there at
It
the
does
top
say
of that?
starters.
It does
If I-
say
if I
starters.
remember-
Kevin Love starts the game for the Heat, boys.
Okay, well he only played 60 minutes no matter what.
Facts.
You're the only reason you're starting Kevin Love is because you have one other power forward on the team and it's Udonis Haslem. That's why they were running Vincent so much at the 4 and 5.
But that's
Because
what I'm
fucking-
saying. And,
CJ Martin, not Vincent.
and
yeah, CJ Martin. Sorry, thank you.
that's exactly what I'm saying. They're playing weird defenses against him, and they're leaving the size mismatch there for Horford. And he's not taking advantage of it because he's not that player, right?
He shot the
But you have the
he shot the
utilities.
4th more shots on the team though. That's what I'm saying. Like he shot more than you're giving him credit. Like 0 for 2, 4 for 6,
5 threes.
3 for 7. Because he can make
Where Joe
threes.
said, it doesn't matter who's guarding you. So let's take advantage of a mismatch here on paper when they're using these weird tactics. Let's not take some threes.
He did. He shot 5 threes.
No, he's saying he
Let's
doesn't
not
want
take
him.
some threes.
Oh.
Let's take some more quality
Oh.
looks where you have a size mismatch that we can utilize.
But again, that's not really his game.
But the Heat
I
are
get that
going to
that's not a
collapse
game,
on
but
you,
let's
though.
do something that works.
The Heat,
But-
you're also you're neglecting your own team's quality defense.
switching,
It's not
yeah.
just one guy guarding you the whole possession. You're at times there's gonna be 2 or sometimes 3 people guarding.
I get that, but I feel like if
It's
how many
the-
All Pros has Al Horford won?
in the last 10 years? 0.
0.
In the last 10 years, he might have gotten 1.
I feel like he had 2. Like I feel like because I love dogging on Al Horford. I really do.
I like
And
Al
I
Horford.
feel like I get thrown back a bunch of stats and like accomplishments because Al Horford really isn't that bad.
he's not.
It's just
The
You-
era he's now playing in is
exactly
extending his.
he fits in this era, but looking at the man, post somebody up. Like I get that that's not
That's
his
fair.
game, but I'm just looking at it.
That's
Yeah,
fair.
From an
but
outside
I
point
also
of view.
think in today's day and age with basketball, it's hard to get quality post-ups.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
that's
everybody's
the
so
thing.
lengthy, everybody's so fast.
And again, with switching, like we're talking about, just because Kevin Love's on the floor doesn't mean as soon as he starts backing him down, doesn't mean Bam isn't just going to come
Yeah.
over the top to help out
True.
and say, Kevin, get over there.
Yeah. And like you see switches like if he's posting somebody up, say with Bam in front of him, somebody can come up from behind and try to swipe him. Well, he'll pass to his guy. Well, the corner guy's coming over, and then the guy who's guarding Al Horford's going to go to the corner, and then that guy who bit for the steal is just going to stay there, and then everybody's guarded within half a second.
Yep.
2018 was his last All-Star game.
So yeah,
Oh, you
what,
said-
6 years ago,
Yeah.
5 years ago.
I thought you said, like, all pro.
Oh,
You
no.
did, but I think you just meant accolades. in
Yeah,
general.
just in general.
That's what I was going with. So it's just you did-
Damn it, you can't tell me they list his position at center as well.
Yes, because
But he's more of a power forward though.
yeah,
he
he's
played a lot.
power
He
forward
was.
his whole.
You got to remember for a lot.
Listen, I get it, but like, it's like having a tight end, but he only blocks, so we're gonna call him a guard. Like it's that concept to me. It's like just label the guy what position he plays.
I agree with that. I'm cool with that.
For the people that don't care enough
Well,
about the sport,
you
just
do-
tell me what he plays.
You do
This
have to-
center doesn't play power forward.
You do have to admit and acknowledge that you are asking too much from the 5th option of a team.
who's also
Al
37
Horford is
now.
not even close to the reason they lost that game. He didn't shoot well,
Turnovers were-
but he's a good defender. He played good defense. He
Yeah.
always plays good defense. He just had a poor shooting night where he went 1 of 5. Well, you still shot 20%. I mean, 1 of 5 is not good. I'm not going to try to say it is, but it's still 20%. It's not good. It's not literally
still
0. Whoa, relax.
Yeah.
Guys made an all-star team in the last 5 years, and you can't do anything inside. I'd trade him.
He's a good.
Get rid of
He
Al.
shut down Embiid. He's the only reason they're in the finals.
I can't win with you. Either I trash him or I give the guy credit, and I can't win with you. This is where I'm coming from, dude. I've tried to play both sides of this argument, and I lose. So I've said cut him, get rid of him. He's terrible.
I think you need to find a happy medium.
No. Nope.
Just acknowledge that he's the fifth option, and it's like he
yeah.
tried his best.
I mean, but that's what I'm saying. Like Al Horford's your fifth option. Like
yeah.
he's the fact that I know who Al Horford is, and I'm not a die-hard basketball fan. I'm a very casual NBA fan, if that. And I know who Al Horford is.
But then you also know who.
Well, yeah, because he's
Tatum
been in the
is.
league since we were like.
You know who
14,
Tatum
15.
is. You know who
So
Brown
you're
is. So
telling
there's
me-
two people right
So
there.
Al Horford is the veteran on
Yeah.
this team and should be leading this team, is what you're telling me.
No.
But he
No.
should have the veteran
Marcus
leadership.
Smart is the
So
veteran leader.
Your two veteran leaders are two people that barely appear in the stat sheets.
Marcus Smart.
If they have an average game.
Marcus Smart.
Marcus just had a double
Listen-
double.
He's had 11
But
assists in the first half.
he's not your scorer. Like, you know what I
Well,
mean?
he's never been a scorer.
Yeah.
He's never even been a point guard before being on the Celtics. So he honestly.
Well, he was a
Time
point guard in college.
out.
oh,
Yeah,
since
he-
college. I
thank
mean,
you.
in the NBA.
Thank you. He was definitely.
Yeah, I meant in the NBA.
Point
Because we
guard
always
at
had
Oklahoma
like
State.
Rondo, Kyrie. We always had Terry Rozier. We
Yeah.
always had someone. And that's why.
And so, do they need a true point guard? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But has he been playing good for the situation they have thrown him in? Absolutely. He's not going to score you a lot of points, but he's going to do a great job guarding their point guard. He's got okay vision. He can hit shots when he needs to. He plays very physical, so he'll tire everybody who's guarding out if you need him to guard. And
I want
most of the
him
time
on
is
Butler.
guarding.
I don't understand why
You
we
guys are
didn't.
That's a
real
good
complacent
point.
about
But
a
then,
team
like
that's
you
down
said,
0-1 in this series.
What do you mean?
Like, you're like, these guys are all doing their jobs. Like, I feel like asking for a little bit more in the postseason.
Well, you
when-
need
when
more.
you're down-
You need more from your two stars who turned the ball over
Agreed.
more than they've made
Yeah.
3-pointers
Agreed,
last
but
year.
I also think that this is.
Everybody else played good.
Yeah,
Them two
really.
did not.
I think that this is where a veteran presence will go a long way. Like Jimmy Butler, having a guy that is your dude that has been in playoff games before and knows at least what this feels like. You know
You
what I
also
mean? Like, I
can't-
know that he's been there, but he's the guy.
You do know
You also-
Tatum and Brown have been in the Eastern Conference
exactly,
Finals.
but
This
we-
is now their fifth time.
But Joe, we just established what?
They're not leading.
They're not
They're
the
the
leaders.
leaders, yeah.
So the Heat's leader is the dude that's doing it all for them.
But Jimmy-
that's their guy. That's the guy that they're rallying around.
Jimmy
Not
Butler
Marcus
has
Smart
also
or
been-
Al Horford. Like that's their lead. That's their veteran leadership.
Jimmy Butler has also been the leader of the Heat since the first second he stepped onto that
That's
practice
true.
court. You are asking the whole demographic of the Celtics to change on the drop of a dime, and that's you've been in locker rooms. You know that's not possible.
I'm not asking for. I think it should have happened throughout the course of this year.
I agree.
You've got two NBA All Pros like
Yeah.
on your team.
I agree with you.
At what point do they sack up, step up, and say, "Hey, we're doing it my way now"?
Well, that's not a guarantee of it. It's not a complete necessity because you.
Why? Because their coach is great?
No,
because Joe's had so many one-on-ones with him these past two
'cause-
episodes.
'cause-
Like, yeah, no, that's not.
'Cause
Somebody's got to
best-
step
The
up.
best dynasty in NBA history, and this isn't being biased, being a fan, but Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson always took a backseat to Draymond when it came to voice. I agree with you. They should have a veteran leader. I agree with you that it should be them, but it's not. But it
Marcus
needs
Smart.
to be Marcus Smart,
I'll
who is
throw-
the same player that Draymond Green is, but he's at the 1 instead of the 4.
See, I think
He can
there's-
take over the psychological game. Joe Mazzulla will not get his team angry enough. Marcus Smart can
Does.
get anybody angry enough. He needs to step in and be a leader. But I agree with you. He should have been at the beginning of the season. He needs to be their leader, their emotional
So
leader.
just so we're clear here, so to make that an equal comparison, you were saying Joe Mazzulla and Steve Kerr are equivalent coaches. Is that what
We
you're
don't
saying?
know. We don't really know.
But I'm just saying, no.
The only time we've ever
If we're
seen
looking at that as a fair, true comparison of what you're saying,
No,
there,
I just-
is saying that those two are equal
I
level
wasn't saying
coaches to
this-
make that way the same.
No, I wasn't saying the situations are the same because the Warriors are incredibly better than the Celtics have ever been, like with this team.
Wow.
With this.
They proved it last year. They were
That's
all
fair.
30 and still beat
I
them.
thought Joe was
We,
going
we
to
make
take
it.
offense.
We
there.
make Eastern Conference Finals. They make the finals.
Yes.
They're
What I'm
different.
saying, just from like Marcus Smart as a person and player, and Draymond Green from a person and player, they both
Similar
they both
personalities.
play
I
similarly
get
on the
that.
court. They got the dogs in them. They're aggressive. They're physical.
defensive minded.
So and they're defensive minded. They both are showing that they can pass. So I think in the locker room, from the player standpoint, excluding coaches, GMs, ownerships, organizations, just from camaraderie, I think he could be the best leader they could have on that roster, and I think it should happen sooner. But going with the Steve Kerr thing, we really don't know if Steve Kerr is a good coach, because the only time we've ever seen this Warrior dynasty play without Steve Kerr, they won 24 games in a row with Luke Walton, who lasted 3 seasons as a head coach.
Sacramento, right?
And then Lakers too for a little bit.
Lakers.
And then is not a coach anymore. And he won 24 straight games with that team. So we don't know if Steve Kerr's good. I think Steve Kerr got exploited in the 3-1 comeback with not being able to adjust to LeBron being on step every single play. So, but we have seen him make a lot of good moves.
I've never thought I'd hear that take from a Warriors.
His death lineup was ungodly.
Revolutionized the whole game.
So we've seen plus and minuses, but at the end of the day, we don't really know because there's not enough sample size of him coaching without this team.
Listen, I just
a
want
good
to
argument is
see
the
some
same thing. You want to see adjustments? You could argue the same thing with Phil Jackson. Every time he won, he had some of the best players ever on this team.
Yeah, because when he coached the Knicks, that was a disaster.
Well, wasn't he like a coach / GM?
Yeah, something weird.
Yeah. So, but I don't know. I think Steve Kerr is a great coach from what I've seen, but we haven't seen him without them.
Yeah, we're going to find out in the next few years.
Joe Torre?
Well, that's if he decides to, no, that's Myers. Bob
Joe
Myers.
Torre?
Bob Myers is out, isn't he?
He has until June to figure it out, and he's not sure yet.
Just for the record, Joe Torre's an manager because we really don't know what he can do without the
You could
the
argue
core
that.
Yankees.
You could argue that. But
I feel like that's just such
different
a
sport.
I also think it's very different because baseball is so much more reliant on game planning when it comes to difference-making plays, in my opinion. Like, one guy can't just, unless you're a pitcher, cannot just completely take over a baseball game.
Yeah, because we've...
disagree wholeheartedly.
You have, what, maybe 5 at-bats?
We have Mike Trout who takes over games and they lose 8-4 all the time.
And that's one dude against them all, but if you have a semi-decent pitching staff, you can have one.
I'm saying one guy, though. In the NBA, one guy can completely destroy a team by himself. Other than...
No.
What do you mean? We've seen it.
So you're saying no defense, no anything. You're not giving, like, I'm talking, you got to give them at least average around them. Like, that's what I'm saying. So an average baseball game, if you can have a low-scoring game, like, you can have one dude that hits
You
2
can
home
change
runs
the
that
game.
scores 4
I don't know.
RBIs.
Jimmy
but you
Butler
can't-
played with a G League team and beat the starters.
You can't have
How
one...
many games has Aaron Judge won single-handedly almost this year for the
But
Yankees?
that's in relying on the other team not having a good hitting performance, though. Aaron Judge could potentially hit 5 home runs in one game and he could still lose the game.
Yeah, just
Okay,
like
so
I
that
said with
can't
Mike
happen in
Trout and
basketball.
Okay, so-
Ohtani.
So you're saying in what world does one person score all of the points in a basketball game and their team has a chance to beat 5 guys?
Completely dominate. Okay, a perfect example is you were talking about with Amon Shumpert, where in the third quarter, they ran the exact same play the entire third quarter.
Yeah.
And beat them because LeBron dominated the game.
Okay.
If LeBron gets hurt in the beginning of that third quarter, that Cavs team loses. If Aaron Judge gets hurt in the 5th inning and they're only only down 1, they could still win the game.
I mean, you could say the same thing that somebody came in and they were watching LeBron and they knew what to do as well and he didn't run it as well, but he ran it effectively enough to win.
But that's using anomalies.
Somebody
though.
could step in Judge's place and they might do all right and they might do well, but Judge could have done better. Like,
But
that's just all
That's
hypothetical.
true. That's
Wins
true.
over replacement.
That's
all, yeah,
true,
that's
but
all
we're not
very
saying,
hypothetical.
But no, that's not really exactly where I'm going with it. That is true. Somebody could step in and hit a home run and win it. But if you're in the 5th inning, 16 potential batters could flip that script.
Okay.
If LeBron's in the game of an NBA game, playing offense and defense,
I get what you're saying.
in
You can play
2008,
through one person more in basketball than you can in a
That's where I'm
baseball
going.
lineup. I get what
So
you're saying there.
So with Joe Torre, like, I feel like Joe Torre, he has a better argument to be considered a better coach than Steve Kerr is because...
I would disagree because I feel like the manager has more influence on the game in basketball
Now when
than
you have Stephen Curry, though,
in baseball.
Now when you have Stephen Curry and he pulls up from 3 feet in front of half court 6 times and a half and makes
I disagree
5 of them.
because
That's not a game plan. That is
How many-
Curry doing the impossible.
how many coaches would have been okay with that back when it first started? When it first started becoming a thing where Curry would just randomly pull from the logo.
So you think Kerr making the conscious decision of saying to himself, you know what, I'm going to let this guy just pull it whenever, makes him that good of a coach to put him at the same level
I think
as
it's
Joe
part
Torre?
of it. And I think we talked about it, I think last week or if not previously, that NBA coaches have more of an impact on the defensive
I
side
agree
of
with
the
that.
ball with you.
And
winning championships
Defense.
takes some good defense, as we've seen in this
Yeah.
playoffs here, where defense is winning.
Yeah.
So that's where I feel like that's just a hard argument to say that Steve Kerr is. We don't know what kind of coach Steve Kerr is just because he's been coaching a super team.
Yeah.
You know.
And to hop off what you said and help you out a little bit too, I'm pretty sure it was either last episode or a few weeks ago. I did say that I think Steve Kerr is a very good player coach. I think he is very good, like you said, at reading, allowing Steph to do his thing, allowing Clay, allowing Draymond to do his thing. Like he understood his assignment. And he said, okay, this team is better than probably any team I've ever watched, debatably my Bulls team.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to let them be them. And I think that's how Steve Kerr is. I mean, he let MJ punch him
And I
in the
guess
face.
a better
and they're still friends,
comparison I should have probably gave. I don't know much about the NBA and coaches there. Like, I don't know much about
Like,
the,
he's
the
not
Pat
on Pop's
Riley
level.
teams.
No.
I'm not putting Steve Kerr on Pop's level until he proves it.
I wouldn't even.
But I feel like you
Well,
could make
how
a
about-
similar argument.
Pop did it for 20 years.
Pop was only successful though with that core group of guys, wasn't he? How many championships did he win before?
Didn't he win with
Like, he's always been quality.
big man
The Admiral, David Robinson.
David Robinson? He won with him, didn't he?
Yeah, but Tim Duncan was on that.
But
team.
yeah,
And
But that's
as a
like,
rookie,
he had a
he
really
was-
good team around him when he was successful.
but he did it for-
He's still in. I'm not taking anything away from Popovich. Everybody knows that he's a great coach. You know what I mean? But like, I feel like that argument could be made where he did have some iffy years after those.
Because he won it
everybody
with
left
David
the Spurs.
Robinson, he won it with Tim Duncan, and then he won it with Kawhi Leonard as well.
That's
Yeah,
true. I forget
and
about the
obviously
Kawhi one.
Parker-
The Kawhi one I
and
feel like is
Parker
the
and
biggest
Ginobili.
So
one.
he was able to navigate players to be, hey, you're a star, to now you need to be a role player. You're now the star.
And
I
he's the
agree.
role player.
And
He's
also
very
the-
good at
the
navigating.
plays that he would draw up and the defensive schemes he would run. So I think it was in 2013, Mark Jackson's last year in Golden State.
Yep.
He ran this play called the sliding glass door, and one of the Splash Brothers would start out on a hash, and they would run towards the basket and then come directly up top, and 2 guys would close on them and screen his guy, and they'd be wide open. They ran that play like an ungodly amount that year and were incredibly successful on it, and that was the year he got fired. Never seen that play ran again. If you're Steve Kerr and you're coming into a team, you know you're watching a ton of their film, and you keep saying the same play works 60% of the time, you have to run it.
I'm
So
gonna
it's like,
bring one more thing to give another argument towards Steve Kerr. Just like you said with Popovich, it was very up and down.
Yeah, he's able
where
to navigate players.
Steve Kerr has been able to not find, because I won't say that he's the GM. I'm sure that he has some.
Bob Myers.
That's right. I'm sure he has.
He
some
owes
type to
his
say.
entire career as a coach to
Bob
Bob
Myers.
Myers. He drafted every single person who's been incredibly good on that
And
team,
made
or
the trade.
or traded for them.
Yeah,
So
because
you're-
Harrison Barnes got drafted, and then
Yeah.
he was able to flip
Yeah,
Harrison
and he flipped
Barnes.
him.
So you're giving more of the credit to
100%.
the GM. I feel like
I said last year
I feel
when
like
they,
it's a two-way street there. With you got to get the right guys, but you also have to plug them into the right
Develop
roles
them
and develop them to be ready for those roles that they're going to be needing to be. Like Jordan Poole, he's come a long way since college.
Unfortunately, the reason this isn't working is we forget Greg Popovich is also the GM.
Yes.
So it's very hard now that I think of that. It's hard to compare him to Steve Kerr because Greg Popovich is able to fulfill both roles, where Steve Kerr is strictly just.
I said when they won the finals last year
do you
that
think Steve Kerr has any say?
I think he does. I think he is
Yeah,
very
that's fair.
influential.
And that's right. I wonder how much influence I'm sure it's not
I think
the end
the
all.
players
be all.
are very influential. I think that core 3. Well, I saw an interview with. It was Bob Myers talking about if he's going to extend or not. He talked about how during the offseason it's him, Steve Kerr, and the 3 guys. like talking a lot about stuff. So I think all 5 of them are very influential. But I said after last year's finals when the Warriors won that I think Bob Myers is a top 2 GM of all time. With what he's been able to do for the last 10 years, the guys he's drafted. Klay Thompson got screwed. He's a top 75
so
player.
So is the other one then like probably Greg Popovich? Because again, he's the GM.
Yes,
Okay.
I think Greg Popovich. You could also argue what's his name for the Bulls during that dynasty. What is his name? They hate him now.
But I was to say, I think that's a great example of GMs,
Look that
and
up.
I believe a great example of just GMs because I feel like GMs are relatively comparable throughout any sport where your job is to put
I'm gonna
together
feel
a
like an idiot.
successful roster.
Kraus,
Kraus,
yeah.
He's got his number, like not number, but his name. Like,
But at the end, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter if you're a GM of a baseball team, a hockey team, a football team, a basketball team. Your job is to put together a successful roster, and either you're tremendously great at that or you failed to do so.
Yeah.
And Cashman said immediately when he took the GM job in the Yankees from Steinbrenner and said, "Yeah, I know how this is going to end. It doesn't ever end well."
Yeah, no matter
for
what.
GMs. At
No
the
matter
end of
how
the
good
day,
you were, it doesn't end well.
you barely ever see GMs quit. Like
yeah,
they only get fired.
And
You stick around
especially
long
in
enough for
today's
you to
age.
see where you're the reason
Yeah, the only
why
one
it
that
all
gets
went
to
to
stick
crap.
around is Pop.
Especially in today's age, GMs are a lot safer in my opinion than head coaches right now. But head coaches are getting tossed around like candy. With that Doc Rivers, I think
He
Doc
got fired,
Rivers should have
yeah.
been fired. I truly do.
Well,
he
but
should have
did
been
you
fired.
See the report?
I
the
think-
leading person who
let
voted
me
him
get
out
there. Let me get
was
there.
James Harden.
So I think he should have been fired. I think other than winning one with the Celtics, he has underperformed with every team he's been on. They've all been good teams, and he has not been able to do anything with them. But the big reason why I feel bad for him being fired is if I'm the owner, when that was released, that James Harden, who scored 0 points in the fourth quarter in Game 5, who scored 0 points in the fourth quarter in Game 6, and then did it in Game 7, is pushing your coach out.
and is going to go.
And
to
is
Houston.
going. And, well, he said he declined his player option because he wants to secure a bigger contract from them. If they sign him, their GM needs to get fired yesterday because that is blasphemy. The guy who threw away your chance and a chance that you should have been at in the finals is running your coach out of town after putting up one good game and then playing like garbage for the rest of them. I think that's blasphemy. That's a side tangent that I just kind of went on. But coaches are getting popped everywhere. Bucks coach gone. A year after, or 2 years after winning Coach of the Year. 2 years after being in the finals.
And won a championship.
Why did he get fired? I don't know. Because they had Giannis and then nobody. They had Middleton, who every once in a blue moon, like a sighting of a shooting star, would pop up. And then Drew Holiday, he was injury prone the last 3 seasons.
I'm pretty sure he came back from pretty bad.
That's what I'm saying. Like a
He hasn't been
shooting
the same.
star, he would show up and play fantastically and be gone for the next 1,000 years. And Drew Holiday was very underappreciated, in my opinion, league-wide until he got to the Bucks. And I think he's got a lot of respect.
Well, because
now.
Middleton all of a sudden got injured, and they're like, Drew, you need to step up, and he.
And that's just two examples. There was what 5 of the last 4 years, the 4 coaches to win a championship. The only one left is Steve Kerr. That is wild. That is a wild stat. And if you look at all these teams of the guys who got fired, it's honestly not really the coach's fault. Like, it really hasn't been. Doc should have been out, ironically, but it wasn't his fault. His team lost. Like, it was just... I feel bad for coaches these days. GMs are kind of getting a little grace period, but I think you see it a little bit more in football with GMs getting pitched out. Because the GMs, I think, are way more important in football because you got 53 guys.
Yeah, it's really weird how
you got to have a good special team.
It's
good
like the
offense, good defense.
Like you said, the flip. It's the opposite in football where they fire the GM and the head coach could actually stay, and then all of a sudden it's the new GM goes, okay, do I want to fire this guy or are we retaining him? Because you see it a few times where literally they'll fire everyone and be like, I like the defense coordinator though. I'm gonna keep him.
I mean, Colbert last year, for the Steelers, he was fired. I'm pretty sure the way that came up was the Rooney family was like, hey man, it's not working out. You haven't been making any major moves since the last 8 years. We haven't been doing very well. I think it's time for a change. And he's like, okay, I'll step down. Because when he was in his press conference, he teared up and cried a little bit. So you could tell it was hard for him to do. But that's the Rooneys just being the Rooneys. I mean, creme de la creme of ownership in American sports. They let him have his moment.
Tucked away in the armpit of the U.S.
Yeah, that's true. But Pittsburgh, man, that's actually not too bad of an area. Plus, PNC Stadium's gorgeous.
PNC Stadium's about the only good thing in Pittsburgh.
Let me tell you what, though.
About the only good thing in Pittsburgh.
I mean, you got the Steelers winning his team in
And that
NFL
includes
history.
the Pirates.
True. That is
PNC
true.
Stadium
That
is the only thing good in
I'm
Pittsburgh.
telling you what, they got the
includes
best
Pirates.
stadium of any farm team in the MLB. Let me tell you what, because they feed everybody. Someone gets good, gone. Someone gets good, gone. Trades a good guy, gone.
Well, you know McCutcheon's back on the Pirates this year.
Yeah,
so he
old
made the
man
full
McCutcheon.
circle. He made the
If
full
they
circle.
if they lose in the playoffs, are you gonna go after McCutcheon if they somehow make? Because they're not doing too bad. If they make it to the playoffs and lose, you're gonna go after McCutcheon, saying that he should have that veteran leadership.
It depends on.
Because
It depends on the flow of the game.
His importance to that team, McCutcheon's, is about Horford's importance.
If people are laughing, joking around, then yeah, I would say McCutcheon had a
He's
big
a
part to
lock
do
in.
with it because he doesn't have those guys locked in. I don't see them making the playoffs, but
Aren't they in second?
It's early in the season.
it's early.
Yeah, I think
I was gonna say-
Pittsburgh's going Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And the Cardinals
Pittsburgh's
are
going Pittsburgh.
terrible, which Cardinals are usually never terrible. So
They'll figure it out. But no, yeah, it like this week. I think we had talked about it maybe when we got together Tuesday. Aaron Judge hit a home run against Toronto, where people had thought that he was actually looking back and trying to steal signs.
Oh yeah.
He had said immediately in the post-game interview that Aaron Boone had just been thrown out,
yeah, they were
and guys
chirping.
from his own dugout, they were still chirping, and he wanted to see, okay, who's the one still in there making noise. He wasn't looking in there for laughs to see who was, telling the funny joke. He was gonna be like, hey,
cut it
He
out.
was letting
Boone
them
just
know.
got thrown out. It's time for us to get back to business here. And instead of saying that to the guy, he just hit a dinger instead.
Yeah.
And that ended a lot of the jawing, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But that's that kind of leadership in a baseball role because it's not as fast paced as basketball. It's not a constant
Yeah.
pace.
You're not going
You-
the entire time. You got time
Exactly.
to talk to your teammates. a lot
Exactly.
more.
Yeah. So there's that kind of leadership involved there where in basketball I feel like it can be or needs to be
You
a part
lead-
of the flow of the game.
You
the
lead through the
leadership.
court in basketball.
Exactly. Yeah, where the leadership is much more a part of the game flow, as whereas in baseball it's more. Baseball's I feel like more of a mental game.
You want
obviously,
to
and-
calm your team down in baseball. You want to relax them, get them zoned in, get them hungry.
Well, and you got to know your guy because
True.
I mean there's also guys that play better when they're mad. They play better pissed off, and those guys are weird.
But you need them. You want them on your team.
Or like I knew some pitchers. Like I was a guy that I didn't want to not be talked to. Like I wasn't a guy that if you asked me a question about something, but if you came over trying to mess around or tell me a joke during the game, like I was completely ignoring you.
On the that's how
I'm
I
staying
was.
locked in that way. But I also knew guys that wouldn't answer. Like you come ask them a question about the game, like, hey man, like I saw you were doing this and this, and when that guy leads off a little too much, like we can backpick him and just dead straight face ahead, like just trying to stay locked in a zone. And other guys that just want to joke around, they don't care about not necessarily
like
they don't
Shaq.
care.
In the NBA.
Well, yeah,
I
where
know
they're
what you
able to
mean.
joke around and then
They're having fun.
go back out on the mound and the light switch flips
That's-
and they're back in the zone and ready to play.
That's
Like,
how I was when I played
you gotta know
soccer.
your guys.
If it was in between plays or if I'm on the bench, I'll joke around with everybody. But like when it's going, I'm so locked in. I'm ignoring everything but what's happening right in front of me. I get mad a lot easier. But that's how I was definitely like, don't joke with me when we're actively playing. Like if it's a pause, it's a free kick, corner kick, I'll chit chat. If I'm on the bench, I'll chit chat. But when I'm in the game, I don't like to be.
Every
joking.
sport was like that for me except for football.
Really?
Honestly,
You were just out there slinging the rock, having fun though.
We weren't slinging the rock.
Well,
we
you
were
were trying to.
running the rock. No, we weren't trying to. We were running the rock, and I think we had like 3 pass plays that realistically they were all huck 'em deep, and hopefully we threw it over everybody.
Yeah.
And we found our wide receiver. No, but I would be under center. Like when we were playing the school that was 5 miles north of us, Sandy Creek. They're all my friends.
They
like,
are men too.
oh, they're huge. They're way bigger than our offensive
Yeah.
line, and they're and they're good. They're good at
Yeah.
football. They're growling
We're on the goal line. I remember vividly. It was our senior year. We played them at home. They're growling on the goal line. And I walk up, hey guys, how's it going? All right, we're gonna score. Oh, okay, and just messing around. Ready, Shane. You're so big, Shane. Oh my God, they let you play? Holy sad. Like, and I was yelling my canes, like doing stuff like that, and it was, situations where we were literally getting the crap beat out of us. But I was out there to have a good time.
I got a question. I've kind of always wondered. First game you guys played them when Joe put the hammer in the.
Oh, jeez.
Do you think you were already going to lose that game, or do you think that switched them all on and just you were done after that?
I don't remember this vividly.
Because I didn't watch the game, but everyone was talking about
it was how many years ago?
Like 10, probably.
Like exactly.
I think we were juniors.
I remember, and we always had the sledgehammer. That was what we did, and we ran around our side of the 50. We put it at the 50-yard line every time.
Okay. So it was like a Smith-Schuster thing, always dancing on the logo.
It was an every game thing. The issue being is the person that was carrying the sledgehammer for us. He was behind a few of us in line, and he yelled up to our head captain that year, and he said, "Hey, we need to go around the whole field." And he's like, I almost want to say he asked me. Like, he turned around to his shoulder and he's like, "Should we do it?"
And you're like,
and I said, honestly, let's just go. Let's go to the 50. And he said, no, let's just do it.
Okay.
So we went all the way around the field.
Who's that captain?
Chuck.
That makes
And
sense.
we went
he would
all
do
the
something
way
like
around the field.
that. Okay.
And as we were down behind their end zone, which wasn't even our half of the warm-up stretching lines, I hear, "F it."
That is funny.
And a hammer from my peripherals fly and lands about 4 or 5 yards away from their entire team.
Oh, I'd be mad. I would be so mad if I was them.
Their entire team was
You guys
huddled
were
up,
done.
talking.
You guys lost that game before it started.
And at that point,
What's the score?
we weren't sure what was
13-9.
going on. We had no clue what was happening. We all just kept jogging, and it wasn't until we circled up to start our stretching that we realized what actually just happened. And it was very much I shouldn't say a David and Goliath, but
I mean,
size-wise, yeah, it was rough.
How did Chucky run against them?
That game wasn't good.
For anybody
No.
on your side?
On our side.
Great for them.
On our
All
side.
pros.
Yeah.
Multiple career nights.
Chuck was one of the strongest kids in high school, like one of just the grittiest kids in high school. I remember watching Jake Benedict come through the open hole in the line.
Oh man, that's not good. I don't care who you are. Jake Benedict come through that open hole. Done.
Dude, I got suplexed by him senior year. I don't want to hear about it. It was a pitch to our sidelines, and the hole opened up through the line. And I remember I pitched the ball, and the ball hadn't even gotten to Chucky yet. And I saw Jake coming through the line, looking like he was a fullback, blocking for the defense. And there was nobody in between him and Chucky caught the ball and literally got his 2 feet on the ground, and it was the only, I heard the wind get knocked out of Chucky, and for that to be like, he was our leader.
Yeah.
I heard all of the air come out of him and just be like,
Tom,
and I'm like, hey coach, when the sub's coming in? Yeah? Soon? Okay. I think I was in for like another series. Yeah. And then we got everybody out of there, and that was a mistake that I think, looking back on it, I think the person that tossed the hammer, I think they'd held it. I think we would have ran to our 50 just on our normal thing, and
they wouldn't have been as mad.
No, it was expected.
Yeah.
Like, it was all expected there, because, well,
they had scouted us really, really pretty heavily the week before that because we had the game on TV the week before that.
Was that the AFW game? The game
Yeah,
before?
so
okay.
that's where
And that was a scrappy game
I
too,
mean,
right?
my favorite play as the quarterback was to come up in a 4-4 defense. You've got 2 linemen, you got 4 linemen on the offensive line, you got 4 linebackers, and that means that no one's in front of my center. My centers were both really good friends, both athletic kids that I trusted, to the point where no one else needed to know what was going on. That he and I, if I walked up and I tapped his ass, it meant first sound, we were going forward.
Okay.
And he's just got to pick off one of the linebackers. And if the other one's outside and I can get by that one, I've got a one-on-one with the safety for, 15 yards, if not more.
Okay.
So, worst case scenario, that linebacker's going to get me and I'm going to get 4 or 5 yards.
Yeah.
Which is a successful play. So, you come out in a
Especially from
4-4.
QB sneak, technically.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And we just mix it in whenever we wanted to. It was great, but you play on TV, those cameras are a little bit better, and it's a little more obvious when they see, just a little pat, and we keep moving on forward.
Mm.
Or, so we knew that going into it, though, that they all got together and the whole team watched that game on TV, and then they watched 2 other games of ours, so we knew pretty well ahead of time that they were read up on us, but it created a lot of problems for us, definitely.
Because that's a nice little story time to end the pod. Celtics Heat game 2 is going on right now. What's the score?
16-9.
16-9 Heat at the time of recording.
How many Jimmy B got? Pull it up. I want it on the laptop right now.
All right.
Live. Jimmy B.
I gotta pee so fucking bad. Jimmy B's he's 1 for 3 with 2 points and 3 rebounds already, though.
That means he hasn't done anything but yeah, Joe, you're
He's gonna
screwed.
wake up. But
Get in live on the Jimmy B over.
that's gonna do it for episode 2 of the Talkin' Athletics podcast with MTJ, Tom, Joe. You heard it, 2/3 of the magnificent trio. I'm Mike Papa, your host. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week.